Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to your favorite convention-related podcast, Con Job. This week, me, Dylan, and Jeremy are going to be joined by special guest Rich from Fan Expo. We are going to be doing a full layout, full rundown of Megacon. What you can expect, how things are looking for the show, and just we talked to Rich about all kinds of things just pertaining to Megacon and his job overall. So hope you guys enjoy.
And we're back. Today we are celebrated with a really great guest, Rich Capobianco. And you might know him as the showrunner, the exhibitor sales manager of a little show called Megacon. You might have heard of it. Hopefully you guys can gather a lot, and Rich won't have to repeat himself on all of the channels and emails that he deals with these exhibitors and artists. We can be your sort of go-to channel. So Rich, how you doing?
Good, man. Great guest that's a stretch, but I am a guest. But things are good, cranking along. Megacon just got back from New Orleans. Thanks to everybody who came out for that one. And now the big one, the dance, is on the horizon.
Definitely a lot more popular, after New Orleans going for this next show than you probably are most of the year, unfortunately.
Probably from October till mid-January, I'm everyone's best friend, and then by March I'm a footnote. So it's an interesting. The holiday seasons are always interesting now.
So for you, is Megacon just always on your mind, like throughout the whole year, or do you I know you have a lot of shows you got to deal with, but you got Megacon.
I want to say it feels like it's always looming, but it never feels like a chore. You know what I mean? Like it's one of the harder shows to get together, but definitely one of the more rewarding, especially when you get the messages from people who like their spot, or you're going into a show when it's going to be like every year since 2022 when I first started doing Megacon. It has jumped up in attendance every year. That post era of time we don't talk about anymore, and it just leaps up in popularity and people going, and the fact that it went from I missed a few people I couldn't be on the floor to now I could fill this show 5 times over if I really want to. It's always in my mind of how I wish I could get more people in, which is what I think I said to Ryan last time I did this too, that I feel bad that I have to leave people out. But it's a phenomenal problem to have. Long answer long.
I think for sure we might get to a point where you need to do the north or whatever, the east and the west, or the north and the south together on the same weekend. That might be something.
I'm sure easier said than done.
yeah, that would be.
I mean, I would reserve my hospital bed immediately for that one. But yeah, I mean, it's massive now.
Yeah.
It is. It's a massive.
I have to say though, I can only imagine what you're going through, but at least from my standpoint and a few people I speak to, it seems like such a well-oiled machine. Like everything flows. I mean, it doesn't seem like anything's forgotten, anything's missed. Like it seems, there are a few pains here and there, obviously, for something that big, but I feel like it's just, it runs pretty well.
Yeah, I think it's because it's been pretty much for about like 98% of the same team who's been doing it since 2022. And everybody, we just know what we have to do. It's just one of those things where everybody's just on point with that one, because you have to be, because if you're not, the whole thing falls apart, right?
Right.
So it's the fun challenge.
So you've been in charge of Megacon since 22. How long have you been with Fan Expo just in general?
22. So this was funny. I got hired January 2nd of 2022. And the first week I'm there, they're like, all right, your first show is going to be Megacon.
Super Bowl.
Jeez.
And I then knew what it felt like to be like that first round draft pick. Like, I was like, oh my God. And then I thought about it, I'm like, oh my God. So I did something right because I'm still doing it now.
Did George have it before that? I seem to remember a time when George had it,
Yes.
right? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
It was him
for
and
everybody who listens as knowledge, basically like you've had Alex and George on this, so now because there's three of us, George now basically is all of Canada.
Canada.
Alex is pretty much the whole West Coast, and I'm the whole East Coast, which is great because I really don't love traveling. So, which also is like, why did you apply for this job?
Yeah.
But they keep me on the East Coast, which is good for me.
Nice. And so, what other shows do you have? I know you have New Orleans. We just talked about that, but talk about the other ones that you have for Fan Expo.
So this year, as opposed to last year, we did a little bit of a shuffle on things. So this year, I did New Orleans. We got Megacon coming up, and then for me, it's Philly, Boston, and Chicago. And to be quite frank with everyone here, I'm more terrified of Boston and Chicago because they're back-to-back weeks. So for me, it's like living out of a suitcase 2 straight weeks and not getting that little break at home. That's more daunting than anything Megacon could throw at me.
Yeah, then you're done in August for the rest of the year. You got nothing to do.
I know. And that's when I start thinking about Megacon all over again.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
The reoccurring nightmare.
So Megacon, this is starting February, was that 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th? Do I have that correct?
6th and 9th, Super Bowl weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And
man, I might have to go to the Bills game that weekend. I'm sorry.
That won't be a problem. It's fine.
Yeah, I think you're safe.
You shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
I live in New York and I can't root for the Bills, and they're the only team that plays in New York.
Plays in New York, exactly.
I know.
All other New Jersey teams, I don't get it. Are you Jets or Giants?
I'm a Giants guy.
See, either answer is I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, like at least the Giants took out Brady 2 times, so I'm
That's
like,
true.
you guys have the unlimited pass. But as a guy who lives in Queens and growing up a Mets fan, I have one rule that I give everybody that lives in New York. There's 3 teams with ETS in their names. There's the Mets, the Nets, and the Jets. And if you want to have any sort of hope in your life, you can't root for all 3 of them. You got to pick 1 or 2. So for me, it turned into the Mets was my team, the Giants, and I don't even like any of the New York basketball teams. Sorry, everyone. But so there's that. And hockey, forget it. Hockey, somehow I turned into a Devils fan. So
I was going to say, is it Rangers or Islanders? Okay.
Yeah. It was Islanders till I saw them play the Rangers, and it was like an era when it was like Scott Gomez and Niedermeyer and Lundqvist and all them, and I was like, I can't hate anyone here right now. So that's how that happened.
Okay. And then so for Mega, how many attendees do we usually get? Like you said, it goes up. So what do you expect? Like what did we have last year, and what are we expecting this year? Roughly.
So last year, soup to nuts, we had about 180,000 plus, which was up from 2023's 160 something thousand. This year, we're also trending double-digit % ahead of where we were for those. So, I mean, if you see any bit of floor during this show, call me over because I'd love to see it too. So
that was actually one of the things I was gonna ask about, because I know when we are in this building for this year, I felt like it's a little bit tighter. So if we're gonna have more people coming through, what that was gonna look like. I didn't know if you adjusted the show floor to get more people in, or what that was gonna be like.
So for the North-South Hall, and the map's out and everything, so you guys can all see it, is in 2023 when we were in there was food courts in the closer to the north side and one down by the lower left side by Artist Alley.
Mm-hmm.
Those are now gone. The food court's in the hall next to it. So it's still within the building. It's still within there, but it's just moved over more, which allowed us to be able to have more breadth of space and room and get some more people in and stuff like that. So we have adjusted the floor, and every year no matter where it is, it's always going to get adjusted every time to account for the numbers.
Do you have a preference for what you like working with better, this hall or last year's, or you work with what you get? Doesn't really matter.
So I work with what I get, but when I think of Megacon, for some reason, I always think of the North-South Hall, because every time I've ever gone to the show, I always somehow would miss when it was in the West Hall, and I'd always end up in the North-South. So when I see that, like the artist alley's over to the left side, and you have that long stretch that just looks like it goes on forever, that's what I think of when I think of Mega. But the West Hall is great because it actually has more space, and you're not constantly bumping into every backpack, lightsaber, everything you can imagine. Every Wild Bill cup is not like right here on you, so it's nice in that regard.
I remember last year thinking, like we're throwing a kink in things. Like it was in May and now it's in February, and then we had better attendance. So that do you have any say in if you like it in May or February better, or if you build it, they'll come?
If you build it, they'll come. But me personally, again, as a New Yorker, in February, Florida sounds awesome. All right. When it's like 22 degrees up here with like wind and all that stuff, and they're like, go to Florida. It's going to be 72 degrees and sunny and stuff like that. Go look at a palm tree. And I'm like, I'm in on that. So prefer that over the summer. Sweating. It's not my thing.
Megacon is the only show we are always dogging on shows that have extreme VIPs. We're like, oh my god, another one of those. And Megacon is the show where it's like they're funneling in, and those extra 2 hours are welcome. It's like one of the only few shows where we actually like it, and we're not rolling our eyes. So
yeah. I mean, you get Megacon, and this goes for any show. You get the VIPs in for Mega, and it's almost like the full attendance of some of the other shows. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh no, how terrible. So plus it's that calm before it's like, oh no, it's happening. So yeah, MegaCon's just it and this is me just kind of spitballing with you guys here too. It's like it's got a little bit of a different feel from like New York Comic Con or something like that. And I love that show to death. You know what I mean? That's my local show. But it's, it is just a flood from like beginning to end. And because it's New York City, and the one thing that's the most expensive is real estate. You know what I mean? So you got everybody jammed in the Javits Center, which really does its best, but it's all multi-layered and stuff like that, multi-leveled. Then you get MegaCon where it's like, all right, I got to go to this booth. It's 1.5 miles away. All right, let's go see what we got. So
yeah, and it's going to take you 3 hours to get there. So, are any of the days ticket-wise sold out?
Probably. That's never something I ask about. I just am like, oh, it's MegaCon. It's
going to be full.
That's for
I
people.
Assume so. I was just wondering. Yeah, because sometimes you'll see you'll get like Instagram be like, oh, Friday sold out. Get your Saturday. Yeah. Saturday. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I'm assuming based on the announcements guest wise of this week. Yesterday we had Nicholas Hoult who got announced, and he's got a big movie coming up this year. And we announced Mel Gibson today.
Yeah.
And we got a couple more this week. It's that whatever's left over, if there's anything left over, will more than certainly be gone. So
yeah, of course. I don't think that's ever a worry. I'm sure that if they're not sold out yet, they will be very.
I would be more surprised if it didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then for the I guess the number of artists and vendors, do you know roughly how many of each you have? And then with that, what's the difference from going from last year's hall or building to this year? Is there a difference? Is there more or less the same?
More. There's more this year. I think.
Oh, okay.
I think total. I probably have over 900 exhibitors, artist alley, all that stuff. Over 900 something, and we're talking big booths. That's not even including some of the corporate sponsors or any of that type of stuff. Right. So it's a lot of everything.
That's great.
Yeah. Okay.
You guys, MegaCon is the only show, and I mean we do a lot. that I went to, and there was an actual haunted house in the like, and it was our neighbor, and we're like, hey, they're like, you want to come on in? And so I don't even remember the name of the company, but shout out to them that there was a haunted house as my neighbor with like a 60 by 60, and just really cool experience. So
we were next to them at one show.
The haunted house was cool, and they were the neighbor also of the exhibitor desk where I was, and by day 3, I'm like, I don't know how much more screaming I can hear right now. You know what I mean? Like, these aren't screams of joy.
Yeah.
So they did good.
I know what show it was. We were next to them, and it was like, my wife's with basically princess art, and then there's people screaming in sheer terror from being murdered. So that was interesting placement.
We got to keep the placements interesting for everybody, right?
It's like... it wasn't one of yours, so I appreciate that.
Okay, well then, all right. I don't know what happened.
Wasn't one of yours.
So since we're dealing with, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, we're talking kind of about adding vendors, doing the floor plan. I think one of the things that I know we talk about a lot, and a lot of things that we get asked about, is getting in, right?
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, you're not in Megacon. From your perspective, what are some things people can do to change
that? Pray for someone's death.
It's a loaded question, because there's a lot of factors into how I pick what exhibitors I let into a show. I think the main thing is, like, do I have 2 or 3 of this similar type of exhibitor? Do I not want, because I don't want to just take booths just for the sake of taking booths. I want people to come in and actually be able to succeed and do well, and be able to say, hey, I had a great show, because you didn't have 15 of this, 20 of this. So that's like the first thing I go for. The second thing is, and it's kind of on you guys, it's the way you apply. You know what I mean? It's how you apply. Like, I look at every single application that comes in, and I am always trying to look at your social media and your websites. That's why we always say, when you're applying to put on a website, when you're rebooking, put on a website, a social media, something. And if you don't have it, if you have NA and you have a really nondescript company and you've checked off every single box, we offer comics, anime, other props, blah, 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 this, that, and the other, then I'm going to be like, I can't, you know what I mean? Because this might sound mildly conceited, and I hope it doesn't get taken this way. I have a lot to choose from, to have to, like, stop and take 20 minutes out of the day to try and find that person.
You gotta make it easy.
It's not even a matter of making it easy. I'm happy. It's like the amount of work that I see that you put into your application and how you want to do it is the amount of, all right, this person's like, they're committed. They want this, and one of the other things too is, I personally feel Megacon is a reward for people who do a lot of our shows. So if I see somebody who does Philly and Boston and NOLA and those types of things, and they're like, I applied to Mega. If I have the space, you're always going to be on my priority. You know what I mean? So that's what I try and do with that.
What's the most digestible way for you to view an extra application? Would you love to see like a video basically saying, like, here's our booth, here's our lovely presentation? Do you want to hunt for their website, their Instagram and everything? Or what would really stand out to you?
Or would you just like the standard pictures? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, usually I'm like, send me pictures of your booth. I don't care if it was a show where you had nobody in the picture at the booth, or 70,000 people at your booth and stuff like that. If it's, I'm trying to also want to go for like nice quality looking booths as well. So if you send me a picture and I see you have effort and you're putting nice stuff into it, you're going to have a leg up over somebody who's like, I don't have a tablecloth. Here's 5 or 6 items on a table and stuff like that. And believe it, I get those a lot. And I try and say the same thing. Doll up the booth a little bit, make it presentable and this, that, and the other, and come back to me and we could talk another time. Try a different show, build up. Let's see you I want to see you in person, but it can't be MegaCon at that. You know what I mean? So
Do
that's
you
how.
ever find yourself getting catfished by a booth? Beautiful pictures, great
Oh,
application. You
yeah.
see it, and it's a flea market.
Luckily, no, but I've been surprised by a company name versus what they sell.
That's fair.
Like when and I'll say the exhibitor name because they're great. They're awesome people and stuff like that. But when I first started and I saw a company called In My Parents' Basement, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, it doesn't say what they sell because it's just a rebook from the previous year. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, all right, it's probably comics, antiques, vintage stuff. And then they get to the show as t-shirts, like new t-shirts out. And I'm like, all right, gotta do a little bit more detective work next time. And they're fantastic vendors, I am fans of what they put out and stuff, but that was the inciting one that made me be like, all right, I need to ask as many questions as I can before getting someone in.
So with that said, is it safe to say once you're in and you rebook, because I know we get the email, while we're there, once we're in, it's safe to say we're in, going forward, or is there ever any extenuating circumstances where you might reject somebody?
It's gotta be an extreme circumstance. I'm always the one that says once you get in, it's yours to lose.
Right.
Because if you rebook, you get to keep that as long as it's working for you, right? Yeah. But if we have to deal with any type of issues, problems, I there are some things I have zero tolerance on: harassment, violence, that type of stuff. If you're walking around kicking over somebody's booth, I'm not going to let you back. You know what I mean? I don't care how many rebooks you filled out. It's not happening.
I'll keep that in mind.
Try not to, just don't body somebody's booth and you'll be fine.
All right.
Okay.
P's and Q's. Jeez.
Yeah, I know. I tell you. It's a very violent group of people on this call. I understand.
So typical Fan Expo policy is you rebook the exact same booth layout that you already have. So is it really just in that special request if you're like, hey, we did a great job, we'd love to have a bigger booth, or do this? Is it really, is that the best place to ask for something like that?
So it also depends on the show, right? Because there's some shows that can expand, some that don't. Because MegaCon's the one where I probably have the strictest policy on expansions, and it's usually two groups of people that cause the biggest issue. And it's not really an issue. It's like, we did well, you want more. I totally get it. But when an artist alley wants to jump up to a premium end cap, right? To me, it's all right, if all my premium end caps rebook, what am I going to do with you? Now I just have to go in and change you back. Now I'm reaching out. Do you want to go back to a standard table, or you can't be in at all? So it just eliminates that middle step. With retail, it's if everybody wants 4 to 6 booth islands and stuff like that, and they want to be, and anyone listening to this, please, I know you want to be on the red carpet. You don't have to tell me you want to be on the red carpet. When everybody wants to rebook for more on that, it's like, if I hit 127% rebook on everything, now I got nowhere to put anyone. Now I got to backtrack and say who was what. Oh, this guy who applied for 8 booths and 4 corners, well, he was a single inline booth for this show. So, and it happens. And then listen, I get it, and I want you to get what you need, but it's like, just write down on that application form. Anybody who ever wants to do that, just come to the exhibitor desk, talk with me, and I can tell you what's actually going on. Like I'm here to work for you guys.
On that note, what
coffee.
Is your yeah? Come.
Lots of coffee, iced coffee.
So we know you're busy for the months leading up to the show. What's your hour to hour like during MegaCon?
I think every day as a lead on the show, your day starts around like you're there at 6:30 in the morning, and then you're there till about like 7, 8 o'clock at night. Except for the first day when you start at 6:30 in the morning, the show goes till like 9. And then at some point you have to eat during that and stuff like that. But I get all my steps in for the year there because I try to talk to as many people as I can when I'm there because I genuinely want to know how's it going. You know what I mean? How are you doing? Back onto why I like the North South a lot more than the West, other than my personal. Oh, that's my economy. It's got 2 red carpets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a lot more a lot more love you could spread out on that versus the gigantic one massive red carpet that goes from the beginning of the West Hall to the celebrity area. Now, the one thing I like about the West Hall with that stuff is some of the artist alley gets to get on a red carpet for a bit, which is like a rarity for them, and I love seeing the experience for them for that. So,
Cool.
Dave, but to your initial question, hour to hour, I'm on my feet, I'm running around, I'm talking to everybody.
Things pop up, I'm sure. Hey,
Always, you know, never anything too crazy. Never anything. Megacons, that's another reason why I like Megacon. It's everybody's pretty, I think, based on the past couple of years of I send out like the personal emails and I try and tell everybody this is how this works and that works. I feel like everybody that goes is a very well informed exhibitor. So I never have any problems with anyone.
unless they're
Whether you
taking
guys
down
have
other
problems
people's
with me
booths.
is a totally different
Yeah,
story.
well, I was going to say, yeah, we'll leave that for another time.
Well, think another thing that people are interested in and something that we're wanting to try out is we want to get into some specifics about the show.
Go for it.
If
Yeah.
there's some things that we can get out there ahead of time, maybe it saves you a little bit of time spent in the message groups, check an email, something like that. So
Sure.
I guess we'll start at the kind of the beginning stuff. Load in vendor parking. Is any of that still available? Like, what does parking look like for us this year, being in the other building?
So in 23, we introduced the venue had asked us, hey, you guys offer the parking. You know, it's all us still, but you know, the easiest way to get exhibitor parking is the exhibitors are already looking at our site. So it kind of makes life easier than that. So we've pretty much smoothed out the process. Parking, we had it available for the past few months on the website and all that stuff. You know, pick your lot. Here's the overnight lots. You know, it's like lot 1's next to the place. Lot 3 is the destination lot, which is the overnight lot. So parking has been out there, and we've been getting it out earlier every year, which is great. Move-in instructions. Anytime you've done Megacon, it's pretty much the same move-in instructions. I know the current, as of was January 15th, we have not sent out the move-in instructions for this year, but they're coming, I promise.
Okay. Any specifics yet on any difference from previous years as far as move-in goes, or is that going to kind of still stay in standard? Marshalling yard, any of that stuff?
Yeah, I mean everything, and again, Megacon's one's at 96% rebook rate. It's just if you've done it before, if you did it last year, or I mean, if you did it in 2023, especially, like you know exactly what you're in for. There's a north loading dock, there's a south loading dock. We're always the exhibitor team is posted up there. I am specifically on the south dock, and you know, you go to the marshalling yard, you get your pass, you come in. It's all the fun stuff. You walk 7 days to your booth, wherever you got to go, and you're good to go.
Gotcha. Exhibitor exclusives. That's something you guys are doing, and it's kind of new for the past couple of years, right?
Yes.
How are you liking that? Is that anything you run, or is that
That was me.
somebody else?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's
So-
been your response with that?
So the response is good. I haven't had a chance to, as of yet, get the things up that are supposed to go up because it's a weird thing where it's like if you put it up too early, people kind of forget. If you put it up too late, everybody's already allocated their money. So it's it's an interesting one because it's so new. It's like an up and down scenario of 1 week here's 3 people that want to do this. Here's another week where you get 6 applications. Here's another one where it's 1. So as it happens more, and I hope people jump onto it, it's something I feel like that could be really good because to me, it's good advertising for what you have. It's good for what you want to do. The one thing that I could tell anyone is like, if you don't want the hassle, just don't do celebrity likenesses. Because now there's like this whole approval process where, I got to go talk to this guy who plays Batman. Like, hey, man, can they use your Batman? Because it's going to be on our website. So comic books are always fine. Comic books are always approved. Uh, pins, that type of stuff. Whatever it is, like I vet every single one of them when they come in. So it's an initiative, and we've taken a lot of initiatives over the past couple of years to really make the exhibitors. Because when I first started, if you don't mind me just rambling for a minute.
Let's
No,
hear it. It's
please.
Please.
When I first started, one of the things I had always heard in the first year I was here was that exhibitors did not feel valued and they did not feel important to the show, right? That Fan Expo was this celebrity signing event and exhibitors just happened to be there. That's what I would hear. So then we started things like, all right, let's try and do this thing with the exhibitor exclusives. We do the exhibitor spotlight where we find 5 retailers and 5 artist ally people and want to give them a little bit of free marketing on our social channels. The exhibitor breakfast that we brought in to basically any one of the things you need to talk to us about, whether it be other shows, anything like that. The group chats on Facebook, like we really have, I feel like, taken great strides in making everybody feel a little more appreciated than your application's accepted. Please don't talk to me till Sunday at Rebook. You know what I mean? So and there'll be other initiatives, and we're always open to recommendations and stuff like that too. Like I'm always happy to hear an idea from somebody.
That's very cool. It's nice to be able to sort of work together for
Yes.
something like that, so it works for everybody.
Yeah, and New Orleans this year at rebooking, for example, instead of just rebooking, I said right on here if you want to stay in your spot or if you want to move a spot. You know what I mean? Because then I know who wants to move, who wants to stay, and we could keep experimenting. You know what I mean? For Megacon, and this is also out of birth of that conversation again, with everybody writes the exact same thing on their application. Even Artist Alley, yes, I'm looking at you, Artist Alley, that they write, I want to be in the middle of the show floor on the red carpet. And I'm like,
Got it.
wish I could help you, you could pretend it's the middle of the show floor, but I want people to talk to me as much as they can and really just be like, what worked, what didn't work for you.
Yeah.
I'm always open for that conversation.
I know personally for us, being in this building, historically, we've always been actually pretty close to Dylan's, same row. So there was always like a bathroom right there. A lot of food right there, stuff like that, where it's like, you're filling out the application. Obviously, red carpet, but
Yeah,
I really like kind of the section I'm at. It has really good traffic coming this way. So
right.
I think stuff like that's always good when it could actually be accommodated.
Yeah, and with Mega the past couple of years, it shifts halls and stuff like that. 1 year you're in the West, 1 year you're in North South. And for me personally, like when it's a new floor plan or I'm changing the floor plan, it's hey, you know what? It gives me a chance to cycle some people around so I can give somebody who's like, I've been trying to get on the red carpet for 5 years, or I've been doing this show since, the dawn of time and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, all right, now I'll give you a chance at it. Let's see how you do. So I always want to, while respecting what people want, I also want to give some other people what they deserve or what they need.
So you said, just talk to me. What makes your life easier when people rebook? Rebooking online or actually going to you and maybe getting some FaceTime and doing it on paper?
I'm never opposed to in person. in person, if I'm at that exhibitor desk and I'm pulled in 50 different directions, but when I'm in person at the desk, I like talking to everybody. Online, if it's cookie cutter, I just want this, no notes, blah, 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 all day long. Go for it. If you have stuff you need to talk about, come talk to me. It's either or. I mean, I don't want to like pigeonhole people into like, well, if you don't talk to me, you know what I mean? And at the same time, if you talk to me, like, I please rebook at the way that makes you the most comfortable.
But please do it, because if you don't ask to rebook.
I will say I do love having the option, because
Yeah.
there's been times it's just I can't get away. I need to rebook, and I'm just gonna do it on my phone whenever.
And I'll give a lot of credit on that one to Alex. Alex was the one when I started a little bit after him, and he comes from Wizard and all that stuff, and he's been doing this stuff with Fan Expo. He's been doing in this space for a very long time, and he was the one who was like, we should use QR codes. You know what I mean? So that people could just scan it and go. And at the beginning, it was like nerve wracking because it's like you got to flesh out a new thing, and on top of it, it's like a digital component and technology and me.
I'm always mesmerized how a bunch of dots is going to make your phone do something.
Dude, I don't know how anything works. I don't know how. If you ask me to take apart this computer on right now and say what's what, I'd be like, I have no idea. But he now that it's been getting more fleshed out and stuff like that, and everything's got a hiccup or whatever. But that was an idea brought on. I remember hearing from him, and I love that everybody has options. Options are what make it better, right? If you don't have options, you really don't have anything.
So with a show the size of Megacon, how long would you say it takes you to kind of get that floor set up? I know the fire marshal kind of helps with that, but as far as like placement and all that stuff, like how long does that take you roughly?
I have been placing Megacon since this year was since September. I've been placing it.
Wow.
Jeez.
Well, so for context, a little bit of a breakdown stuff. I'm going to rattle off numbers. It's going to sound more impressive than what it is. It's just the fact I was looking at the map before I got on the call. So this is not a beautiful mind moment. There was 600 Artist Alley tables. There is 109 premium end caps. There's 56 featured booths. And then there's like something like 600 to 800 retail booths. Probably more on that front. I think it was more like 1,200 retail booths, but then we give some to the community partners. There's the corporate partners. So there's stuff like that. So it is placing Artist Alley at Megacon is the equivalent of me placing Megacon and NOLA again. Yeah. And everybody's got the specifics, right? Artist Alley, I got to be by my friend. We're going to watch tables, but I also got to be by the bathroom and at the front door because there's a front door bathroom. Just stuff like that. And it's like I try to accommodate as many of those as I can too. So it's like, all right, I placed this person, but then like 50 people down, there was this person that wanted to be next to this person. So here's a new rule too that hopefully saves some of the messaging. If you want to be next to your friend at a show, I'm not opposed. Both of you write it on your applications. Because now I'm also encountering people who say, I want to be next to this person. And that person's like, I don't want to be next to that person.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I don't want to be next to Ryan, what do I do?
Yeah.
Does that happen?
So it's like, if you're like, Ryan's the worst and I can't stand him, you know what I mean?
That's why I bring Meg with me. Nobody can say
on
that.
On top of that, he's a Bills fan. You got to get him away from me. So just match everything. Just match.
Yeah, and probably safe to say, do it if you're rebooking and you're all in the show. Just do it then. It makes it infinitely easier on you.
I'm going to throw out one thing too that I want it if you, and this isn't me telling anyone you have to rebook, right? But if you don't rebook, it is hard to get back in. As much as sometimes because if I start moving and you don't, say it was this year and, you didn't rebook and now it's January and you're like, oh, can I still get a booth? And I'm like, sorry, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then if that rebook percentage that was at 96 goes to 98, now I'm like,
Yeah, you got. I mean, so we talked about how many are in. Best guess, how many applications you see a year, you think?
For Mega or in general?
Just Mega.
Mega, over 3,000.
Dang.
That's a lot of no's.
1 in 3 chance you're getting in if you apply.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's not how that works. But
Yeah. So I mean, if you got 3,000, you have say give or take 1,000 that are there rebook. That's stiff competition if you're trying to make it in.
Yeah, I mean, even if you say like I have 1,200 booths, and oh my god, I have 1,200 applications. But at the same time, somebody's like a 10 booth island, then I'm just like, all right,
Yeah.
I don't have 1,200 booths now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that's why I said before, it's yours to lose.
Act right.
So anything out there in terms of the specifics that you'd like to get out there before we move on to some other stuff? Any big celebrities you want to announce?
What do you have to repeat the most that you just
yeah,
wish somebody would be like, it's in the email, I said it here. Once, like, what do you get asked the most that you wish they just knew?
That at Megacon, even though we have some on the floor, and it's because the corporate's like, I don't do end caps. End caps are, if everything was end caps, there would be 14 vendors in the show. You know what I mean?
They all pick Empire booths.
Yeah, and it's like, listen, I'd love to do it, and if it works out and I can do it, I'll do it. But when it's like, I'm doing an end cap, and if I don't get an end cap, I'm not going to the show. And I'm like I just 2,500 other applications in the wings.
It's always nice to be making demands.
Okay, stop twisting. You win.
Everybody's pretty cool. Like, I mean, like, listen, even if I get asked the same question by 10 different people, I'm happy to answer it because it's your question. That's your reality. You don't know. You know what I mean? I would just be like, all right, the one thing I get asked more than anything, please stop. And I said it before, middle or front of the room, red carpet. All right, let it go. Just let it go. And if I can, I will, but let it go.
Just it's on by default. Like, everybody knows.
At the show this year, we have Mezco toys coming, right? And we've got Roosevelt's and Citizen Watch and stuff like that. Like, even if I put you on the red carpet, like, they're going to come in, I'm going to be like, all right, there they are. You know what I mean? And not because I don't want you there, but because it's just like, I still have to make a nice looking floor for everybody as well.
So you deal with so many artists applying. Do you ever encounter the pesky AI art applications, or maybe somebody applies and then you find out it is? And how do you navigate that?
So if somebody applies with AI and I see it, I will take it on the chin that it's like, all right, I missed it and I messed that up, because we're all still learning about AI art. It's something and everybody there is trying to be on top of, but it's like, I watched a video from a Spider-Man movie the other day. It was AI art, and I had no clue. So it's getting good, right? Like it's getting very good. But with the AI specifically, I take it on the chin and say, all right, I'm gonna let them stay because I accepted them in, but I'm not going to allow them to rebook. So it's a one and done, and that's the best way I try and go about it, because I'm not gonna make a scene throwing you out of the joint stuff. If you're selling something that's someone else's, right? You've sold an image. The thing I'm gonna look at you do, I'm gonna say, stop selling that immediately. And if I find another piece, I'm going to be like, ugh, so you'll get a lot of visits from me telling you to stop doing something. And then you won't be allowed back in.
What was that, Dylan?
I said not the visit you want from Rich whenever he's
Yeah,
walking
you want the smiley Rich who's walking by and just waves.
You don't want, like, apparently when I'm at a show, I've been told I like power walk down an aisle when I have somewhere to go. And you don't want that Rich. You don't want I have to go here Rich.
Like Jason Voorhees in the forest.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I'd even say he's faster than I am at this point. So, yeah, you don't want that guy.
So,
go ahead,
Ryan.
Go ahead, you got it.
I was just going to ask more about AI stuff.
Sure.
Like you're saying, everybody's still trying to figure that out, but it's a hot topic. So,
right.
Obviously, I think you coming from a more comic book background, probably more forefront in your mind. Does Fan Expo in general, is that like a topic that's come up internally or that you can even talk about? Or
I can say the topic has come up internally. So this is my personal thing. This isn't a Fan Expo thing. This is my personal thing. Okay? So we'll make that separation right now. Somebody comes up to me and says, this is my image that this AI artist has stolen of Batman. I'm going to look and be like, are you licensed to draw Batman? You know what I mean? When I see some of the lightsaber guys, this one sells the same type of lightsaber I do. Are you Lucasfilm authorized? You know what I mean? Like, so those are conversations. That's where it gets really muddy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's my personal thing. Is there an overarching thing of what Fan Expo is trying to do? Yes. But the problem is it's hard to keep up with as things are always evolving. So we try and handle things on site. Then there's also the debate of this AI artist is in retail. You know what I mean? They're in retail selling, not Artist Alley. Artist Alley, there's a required that the artist is there. In retail, it's like, here's the guy with the AI Superman, and then he's next to the guy who's laser engraving Superman on a glass. You know what I mean? Where does it start? Where does it end?
Yeah.
So that's the thing to try and get to navigate. But that's mainly my
slippery slope for sure.
It's a slippery slope. It's the way I personally look at it, but I also feel like as AI is, it's also very case by case basis. My phone, am I allowed to curse on this?
Of course.
My fucking Facebook has AI. All right, it's really like Skynet 1. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
It's tough trying to get ahead of a curve when it's becoming so socially acceptable. But when it directly affects an artist, that's when I know we get directly involved.
Got it.
If someone's doing an AI picture of a poster from a movie, what do I do with that? You know? But if it's this guy has my image on this doing this, I'm going to be like, no. And if it's somebody in Artist Alley who's like, you've never put a pen to a piece of paper in your life, no.
Got it.
So
super articulated.
Are you, I don't even know how to ask this, but like all the hotels that are around, which ones, like what do you recommend? Do you guys have anything to do with any of the hotels or?
The conversations of who's picking the hotels and how the hotel system works with Fan Expo is in such above my pay grade conversations. They're cruising in a 747 right now. I just get told where to go. And for me, I tell everybody, listen, the Rosen Center is like right across the street.
Yeah.
If you can get there, go. And years ago now, I used to help out my buddies when they would vend at shows by me, right? And they'd be like, we're going to go back next year. And I'm like, well, just book the hotel. You know what I mean? Like, why are we waiting until 2 months out before a show to do the same thing that we just did? So always keep in your mind, if you have a hotel you like, just book it. You know what I mean? Like, don't wait till August. Don't wait till, November. Like, do it the first minute across your mind. Just get it out of the way.
With that said, do we know 2026's dates, or are you even at liberty to say? Can we break it here?
I know them.
Okay.
We will not. Okay.
You will not.
All right. We'll know on what, Friday or Saturday at Mega?
You'll know probably. I mean, last year I started the rebooking on actually the Wednesday.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
Yeah.
It'll be in there.
So
Quickest
rebooking
rebook.
on the tip of this, actually, real quick, this is something I want to bring up to people. When you say, as an exhibitor, I did not have a chance to rebook, I am flooding your inbox every day
Exactly.
with ways
Even
to rebook.
after you rebook, you're still getting the rebook email. So there's no way
Exactly.
they didn't get it.
That rebook is open from the minute the show starts and at Megacon during load-in till 7, 8, 9 o'clock Sunday. You got the time. You know what I mean? I have the time for you. You make the time for this rebook thing. So
Yeah.
everybody will probably know when the dates are come Wednesday of move-in.
So based on rumors, real quick, based on the rumors that we've been hearing, can you blink once if it's changing to a different month?
I'll say yes to that.
Okay. Go ahead, Dylan. What'd you have?
Oh, now I already. Oh, wait. Is there any edge to rebooking that Wednesday versus Sunday? Like in terms of.
You don't have to think about it, right?
Okay,
yeah, I do it literally. When I wake up the Thursday, I do it before I even walk over.
Yeah.
You just do it on your phone. It's done.
You know the people are going to be there. You know that it's going to be slammed. It's going to be busy. And I mean, even for me, walking from one part of a floor to another, even if it's just 3 rows over, it takes me like 15 minutes, right?
Yeah.
It is pre-congestion pricing New York City, trying to walk through Megacon. So the earlier you do it, if you know you're going to do it and you know you want to keep your spot, just like you want to just keep the ball rolling every time, just do it. You know, do it as early as you can. Makes everybody's life easier, I feel.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
less thing you have to worry about when you're scheduling all these shows.
I think I did it while we were setting up last year.
Yeah. Just makes sense because you know you're doing a show. I mean, how many people are doing it and going, you know what? I don't want to be back here. It's got to be rare.
Honestly, not
4%. It would seem only 4%.
4%. So those are probably 4%. 2% of that 4% is probably the ones bugging you. Go, hey, I forgot. Can I get back in? So probably
more like 3.5%.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
3.5% are like, I'd like to be back in, and I'm just like, I don't know what to tell you. So always rebook.
So then I guess I don't know if anybody else has any more questions, but kind of round out here. Last year you guys did the Universal thing. Is that happening again?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have that promoted on the site, and actually, from what I've heard about the Universal thing, is it's more of the park than it was last time.
Nice.
So, if you want to make your way over to something like a Diagon Alley, you could probably do that on the Hogwarts train, is what I'm hearing, type stuff.
Oh, nice.
That was yeah, man, that was so much fun last year. I will say, like, stuff like that. I know it wasn't like a vendor specific thing, but having the show by the park out for the night was, especially for that price.
You got stuck with Adam.
Oh, we had a blast. That was the most fun. It's
great way to blow off steam.
Yeah, like we were talking before, it's like when you're doing these shows, regardless of where you're at, when you're traveling, it's tough, and you're just convention center, hotel, and being able to leave for the one night, being able to go for the one night and not have like the insane crowd, and just be able to go and just enjoy the evening without having to stress. That was really fun. So we're definitely doing it again.
I give a lot of credit to the showrunners of all the Fan Expo shows, the community team, the content team, and the comics team, in regards to the fact that they're always trying to find new ways for everybody to enjoy themselves outside of the show floor. We have the Universal thing at MegaCon. At a lot of the shows, we do the Comic Explosion now, where we get the big name talents that are at the show. They come and do painting for everybody, and people can bid on the paintings. There's dances, there's, bar crawl type stuff. There's anything and everything to be with your people, because at the end of the day, all of Fan Expo and all of what we're doing is we're trying to have the community that enjoys this stuff enjoy themselves. Retailer, artist alley, attendee, guest, the whole thing is like, you should be there and as a vendor, make some money. As an attendee, enjoy yourself, and everybody just have a good time.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm excited. What the last question? Do you get a vacation after MegaCon is over? Like, sounds like you've been working for 6 months on this. Do you get to relax for a little bit at least afterwards?
Oh no, Philly
Philly's
starts
coming
up.
up.
Philly, Boston,
Yeah.
Chicago. So that's that. Like, I'll probably pass away for a couple of days and then resurrect,
There we go.
and
At
then
least
just
you
jump
get that.
back
It's
to
always
it.
that third day. It's always that third day.
It's the third day. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right.
Well, I
Is
think
there
we've
anything?
taken. Yeah, I
I
think
was
we've.
going to ask, is there anything else, Rich, that you want to let people know before we head out?
No, I just want to say, every vendor I deal with, whether you've been in a show or I unfortunately have not been able to get you in a show, I really enjoy, respect, and care about what you guys all do, and I want everybody to succeed. And quite frankly, I always want everybody to remember that my job is to work for you. It's not the other way around. So that's the big takeaway. It's like anytime you're like, I don't want to bother you because I don't want to send you an email. It's like, bother me. That's the
Yeah.
point of
That's my
what I'm
job.
doing. Yeah.
Yeah, it hasn't released yet, but I will say we have another show that we recorded, and Fan Expo repeatedly came up for favorite to work with. So you guys are doing a killer job.
We're trying over here. We're trying. One thing I will say, and that's across all because you guys all mainly deal with the sales managers and stuff like that. So you deal with me, you deal with George, you deal with Alex and stuff like that. And it's one of those things where we're all in our own way cut from the same cloth of just enjoying this business. We love this business. We love when you guys love it, and we're hurt when you guys don't succeed. So we're in it just as much as you are.
All right.
Well
Cool.
said. I love it.
Jeremy, you want to take us home?
Yep. I just want to say thank you, Rich, again for hearing us out, letting us kind of pick your brain there for a little bit. Hopefully, everybody finds what we're putting out there worth it for the show. Anybody wants to come check us out? Dylan, Ryan, what are your booth numbers?
5049 for us. The Art of Making Withy. Dylan's
Rich, any chance you know our numbers? Because I don't have it off the top of my head.
Jeremy?
Right now.
I red carpet. No, I'm just kidding.
Middle of the room, red carpet.
Yeah, middle of the room, red carpet.
I've got my fingers crossed for this year. I think we're 4-1-1.
Oh yeah, do you know what aisle
like that?
do you know what the aisles are for the red carpet offhand?
It
looked like it was 4,000 on the map, but I couldn't tell for sure.
Now I'm actually going to look at the map and I'll tell you.
Oh man.
4186. If you guys are walking around, I think over by where the food court used to be. I think he said there's no food court now. Stop on by. We'd love to chat with you.
So 2,000 to 3,000 and 3,000 to 4,000 are the red carpet aisles.
Ah, Jeremy.
Here we go. I get to test
one
it
off.
finally.
I love it.
Maybe
like it.
you might be
we're
on
one
it.
off, which I like because the red carpet gets so packed that people like to move one over.
Yeah,
and start. Yeah, so it works out well.
I know where you guys are placed. I don't remember the numbers offhand, but I feel I feel pretty confident about where I place you guys. I feel pretty confident about where I place everybody, to be honest. So
no, it'll be good. Megacon's always one of those, just like it's automatic. It's a machine. You go do it. You get through it, and you have as much fun as you can along the way. So
yeah, make sure you rebook.
Just rebook. That's
the
takeaway. If we were going to take anything away from this, it's just rebook.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
Make your lives and mine easier.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for tuning in, and again, Rich, thank you. We appreciate it. I know you were busy this past week with New Orleans, so thanks for coming back on, and we'll catch everybody next week.
See you soon, guys.